the encroachment from the outside or the desert cultures leads into his theory, because he then develops a theory of how nations or how dynasties they evolve in 4 stages. I think you alluded to that earlier on, that the first stage are the founding fathers who actually had to fight. They became, as Yasser mentioned, they were Bedouins themselves, in that sense of being simple, cohesive, the Asabiya connection, and they encroached upon another civilization that was already at the level of decadence. But because of their hunger to actually overpower, they were able to conquer and acquire land. That's the first generation of a dynasty. The second generation are those who are born into it. Their fathers actually established a civilization, they're born into it, and they have a sense of superiority, that they were chosen by God because of the favor they're seeing before them. So take it for granted that actually, they have to struggle to be where they are. So they're a bit more authoritarian, but at the same time they actually establish.
Still have remnants of the virtues that the founding fathers, you could say,
and they're still afraid to lose it, which is why they will establish very good systems of governance, taxation, law, so on and so forth. By the third generation, now you have the really rich kids.
They're really born into it.
Yes.
They're spoiled ones, right?
Yeah.
This video is sponsored by the Muqaddima program.
For nearly 7 centuries, Ibn Khaldun's Muqaddima has been read and studied by scholars and students of history, sociology, politics and economics as the single most authoritative and astounding work of classical scholarship in the field of history.
Embark on an enlightening educational venture led by Muslim scholars and teachers delving into Islamic history, sociology, economics and beyond. Engage with cutting-edge learning cues and multimedia components, allowing for a deeper understanding of the topics. Distinguish between the lies and the truths of the narratives told, between reliable and unreliable sources. Equip yourself with the skills to conduct deep research and build confidence to combat Islamophobia. Come and strengthen your Muslim identity today. Grab the course in the video description.
I took it and I actually saw it fitting to the issue of the Muslims nowadays. If you look at the reverts or converts, people who accept the deen, first generation, they accept the deen, they go crazy in a way of, let's go make hijrah, let's go to Saudi, let's go to Mecca, we do everything right. Every minute that we do is about Islam. Every little thing we do, the way you eat, the way you drink, really in such a way where they want to live Islam fully, to the max, which I fully understand. That's first generation. Their children are not at all like this. Their children, some of them might even get lost, although they raise their children according to Islam as much as they can. They will be closer to the first generation,
yes.
But some of their children would not take it that seriously. And these children, their children, some of them are actually like, well, okay, I'm a Muslim, so what? Subhanallah.
And then the
so
fourth
you take
generation.
this over. Fourth generation, actually, they've lost, I would
The
say,
fourth
many of them
generation
have lost Islam.
busy building gardens. For example, in Andalusia,
Yeah.
they were busy building gardens.
Yeah.
By the time it was
Building
too late,
mosques with arabesques and everything, but nobody prays in there.
Exactly, beautifying everything. And there is a tradition in Islamic, in the Hadith, that when
Yes.
Muslims begin to decorate the Quran, this is a sign of the end. Yeah? When you begin focusing more on the decoration of the Quran with gold,
Then it says
what it
leaves,
says.
and the mosque being decorated,
Yeah.
is a sign of decline, because by this point we are so used to the favor we've been enjoying, we've lost the essence. We're more focused on the actual form of things, how things look, indulgent culture. And so he mentions the fourth generation are trapped by this luxurious kind of outlook, which makes them very easy to conquer by the more hungry and the more consolidated deserts, the desert tribes that come from the outside.
And they will always be there.
Yeah, and they'll also be there.
That's
so
amazing,
the Mongols
isn't
is
it,
a great
that
example
yes,
of
yes.
that happening. And also the al-Murabitun and al-Muhads as well. So I like that kind of, perhaps 4 generations is very strict. It may be more than 4, but the point being, the principle is there are 4 stages to how a civilization rises and then eventually declines. And I think if we look at the modern world today, certainly certain nations are on the 4th level. They're on the decline right now. And you hear it all the time. In our parents' days, 100 years ago, previously, there is a level of awareness that things were not always as easy as they are today. You have it easy today. It's a very common statement. You have it easy. things are easier for you guys. And it's not necessarily said in a flattering way. It's almost saying it's too easy. You're on the brink of losing what the privileges you have right now. Yeah,
Spoiled. You're spoiled.
It's very, with regards to the four, the cycle of four, the beauty of it is that it's general enough, and the core elements of this cycle are general and clear enough that you can apply it to even the business world, for example. The core elements of this cycle are what? It's luxury and complacency. In essence, is that, and taking things for granted, which comes with that. It can really apply to anything. As you said, just a small example with regards to non-Muslim becoming Muslim. The same thing can be applied to businesses. For example, when a business starts off, there is this asabiyah, there is this solidarity within the business. There's this culture. They know each other, this common culture. Yeah. It's a small group usually, or even if it's a medium-sized group, they know each other. There's this strength, there's this goal, this direction. And as it grows, usually, I mean, it's not generational, it can be, but usually it's within the same generation where you have it slowly then falling into luxury and complacency.
And excess.
Excess, exactly.
A lot of excess.
Which is, I find that very interesting, that concept in there. Which is, it brings me back to the book with Ibn Khaldun. When he wrote the book, I honestly think that when he wrote the book, what was in his head was more, what are the general foundational norms, rules of the field that I am looking into, and that's what I'm going to write down. Nothing specific, because when you have the general guidelines, the rules, then you can derive easily specificity out of that.
That's a good way of putting it in business terms, because there are cultures in business, especially now in the mega corporations. There's a Facebook culture, there's an IBM culture, there's a Google culture, and you know, ex-IBM workers who worked in the early phase of IBM are known as IBMers. Early Google employees, they have a specific title. I worked in the first 10 years, you know, there's a specific status because there was a culture that was actually cultivated at the time, as you mentioned, very intense, very focused, same with Microsoft, that people recognize in the marketplace. You worked in Google in the early years, that must mean you have this quality and that quality. Whereas now, people who work for Google, unless, you know, you find people working in mega corporations that are more concerned about gender issues than it should be about actually working to make the thing work. Which is a level of now decadence and being spoiled, really. Complaining about temperatures, you know, the office temperature is too cold for women, it's hot enough for men.
For example, yes, brilliant.
Google would never have reached the level where it is today if that was the issue they had at the start, yes. So it's a luxury that's been taken, and it may be a sign of we've gone a bit too far now.
Of decadence,
exactly.
Maybe. There you go again. You know, decadence of the company,
of the company,
going towards a decline.
So it's a very...
It's very interesting. It did cross my mind, but because I'm not so much in the corporate world, it is very interesting what you just said, both of you. That indeed, you're absolutely right. There is a corporate culture, and every bigger company, good examples that you mentioned before, has a specific culture, and people who live there, work for the company, and actually live for the company. Actually, they come out with some kind of culture, or have it already in them.
I mean, if you were to look through the lenses of Ibn Khaldun, he would definitely say yes, it has definitely influenced us. Very deterministic. But
and we see it because the cancel culture of today is a direct result of the privileges that have been acquired through the hard work and grit of the early generations. Cancel culture is a result of that. We have become very spoiled, very indulgent, and that's also a sign of decline. As many social commentators have said, in the West, perhaps the new Rome is declining. Interestingly enough, the Muslims that are coming from the deserts, from the desert cultures, will take over Europe.
From downtrodden,
yes. Because they have more cohesive principles, they have traditional values such as family, elders, children, and these people are hungrier than the Western host nations that have now gone to a level where it's all individualism.
That's right.
Homosexuality is also prevalent. So according to Ibn Khaldun's principle, you could almost see that one level has reached the fourth stage, and there's an emergence coming this way, which is still considered the third world, but third world really is the desert world. Right?
Exactly.
So I mean, this is it's fascinating. We're seeing it unfolding right now.
It is.
We are seeing it unfolding right now.
But that's what I'm saying about history, subhanAllah. I mean, we're there again. We have to understand, we have to look at history, we have to try to implement what we learn from history to nowadays, to the present.
Absolutely.
And you can, because there is a circle, life is a circle. You know, life is a circle and everything repeats itself, and history repeats itself. It might sound like a cliche, but there you go. It is like this. It is simply the way it is. And if you don't understand, and many people don't understand it, I mean, don't think that just because we three are sitting here and talking about this one, and inshallah we have an audience that listens to us, does not mean that everybody who listens to us will understand that, and everybody listens to us. No, we have billions of people who don't listen to us, will never listen to us, okay? So that's why it will repeat itself still.
Yes.
Okay? But for us, on an individual basis, we, ourselves, we can make a change in there for ourselves, for our families, for ourselves. We can be the ones. If I look at this, for example, the example that I gave before with regards to the children's children of reverse basic. Now, if you know that there is a chance, there's a fear, there's a problem that something like this will happen, then try to go ahead and try to grab this problem, try to actually change it before it occurs.
Exactly.
And you can just do that when you know that.
Yes, and Ibn Khaldun does not only talk about the problem, but also the solutions.
Yes.
And this is where the discussion really begins. Once you realize we're at this stage of decline, how do you reverse it? Yes. So I'd like to conclude by talking about the economic theories, nations of the.
For almost 7 centuries, the Muqaddima has been widely regarded as the earliest and most authoritative and seminal text in the fields of sociology and history, outlining the core principles and methods needed to evaluate and convey history with a more objective and critical eye. Its celebrated author, Ibn Khaldun, pioneered a revolutionary approach to the study of history and is considered by some historians to be one of the most influential thinkers in his field. Now, for the very first time, students of Islamic history will have the rare and unique opportunity to study this monumental and classical work of genius under the tutelage and guidance of experts in the field of research and education. We offer a wide and varied range of learning experiences as part of the program, with options for students to participate in person during our on-site lessons in London or remotely via our private and secured live streaming platform. Classes are delivered on a fortnightly basis, and all students enrolling onto the program shall receive a complete learning resource pack, including coursebooks, timetables, and admission onto the online student portal. The annual program is available to students as a certificate or a diploma package, with varying subjects and module components, as well as a practical assessment unit that will culminate in the launch of student-led history projects and publications, following a panel presentation before a group of assessors. This is a unique opportunity to discover and immerse yourself into the world of Islamic historiography under the tutelage and guidance of experts who will assist you in acquiring the core skills and competencies necessary to conduct your own research and launch your own initiatives. To find out more about the Muqaddima program or to enlist yourself onto this unique and fantastic learning journey, please visit our website at www.al-Muqaddima.com, where you will be able to download our program prospectus, register your interest by submitting an application directly via the online enrollment form.